Hey guys, what's going on? So I finally had some time to tie down my dad and his busy schedule to bring some cool content that we've been trying to do for a long time. Obviously, we're a super tight family, and love spending time with my dad. And I've heard so many stories over the years of his career and cool things that the fans don't know. And I think it'd be really cool to get them documented, not only personally for us to have as a family to pass down to our kids and their kids' about his storied career, but we also wanted to bring those stories to you as well. We've been going back and forth with some different names, reminiscing with the Rockets, stories with Dad, a bunch of different ones, but we'd appreciate any ideas. We figured we'd start with just getting as much content as we can, and then figuring it out along the way. So I think we're both happy that we're here doing this.
I have no idea how you've trapped me to sit me down for a couple hours
I
to
know.
tell this is your life.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been good. Luckily, we had literally a full day today where he didn't have anything scheduled, which is really rare. So we're starting off now, and we're happy to get this going. So I think we're really going to start with some of my favorite stories that I think you guys would love to hear. Some of them are out on the internet, but some of them aren't. So I think one of my favorite stories of yours, and I think you'd agree that it really kickstarted your career, was your first 20 strikeout game, and I believe it was in '86, correct?
1986, yes.
1986. So just a few years after you won the national championship in college. So if you want to give a little bit of a background on that, and then kind of roll into all the background of leading up to that game that was made, the game so interesting and the story so good, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, Case. So I think you got to regress a little bit, and you've heard some of it. I may touch on some details that you haven't heard, but I got to go. Anytime I'm going to bring up my playing career or how I got there or anything, how I got started, and having, my four wonderful boys, they're my pride and joy. My wife, Debbie, your mom has been a backbone through all this for us. But I got to go all the way back to, my pops passed away when I was young. And your grandmother, Bessie Jane, and my grandmother, Myrtle Lee, they were two strong-willed women that basically raised me. And you've heard, the Cliff Notes, Dad's told you about it, but I don't know if I've got this in depth with you where we sit down and get this on film and let the public really hear it. I did a book way back when with Peter Gammons, and we might have touched on it a little bit, but your mom, my mom and grandmother, they were strong-willed women. I mean, my grandmother said it best: if you're going to be a ditch digger, you be the best ditch digger in the country. Mom always told me to take pride in the teams that I was representing, no matter what city it's in. And but again, I had that great work ethic. Now, when I got to high school, I was very fortunate. I had a high school coach right here. We still live 8 miles, maybe less than that, from our high school.
Yeah, from
Mom and I went to
Springwoods.
Springwoods High School. I had a wonderful coach there, and these three men that I'm going to tell you about, they all were from the same mold. They were great coaches, great baseball men, but they're better teachers of the game and teachers of life. Once I got older, I've, more clicked for me what Coach Mariana was trying to get across. My high school coach, Charlie Mariana, he was almost like a father figure to me. And then when I realized that I could further my education, which Mom wanted me to do, I realized that some people were, I was probably a better defensive end than I was pitcher first baseman. And but I started getting scholarship offers for baseball, and I said, man, this is great, because Mom couldn't afford to put me through school. And I was a little nervous about a 4-year school and getting an opportunity to go see the University of Texas, which we did in high school. The coach we had a tournament up in Austin, and he would always stop at Dish Falk Field, and we were like, it was like a spaceship back then. Nobody had AstroTurf back then in 1979, 1980. and everybody wanted to go to the University of Texas and play. And so I ended up staying. I got a little nervous about that, so I found out there's a junior college that had a great baseball program, San Jacinto Junior College, and one of the more famous coaches you recognize now, Coach Wayne Graham. Coach Wayne Graham went on to take Rice University. After he coached at San Jac, he went to Rice and took them to a national championship. But Coach Graham was a baseball lifer, and boy, did he know the game through and through. And he got after me pretty good. He got me with tough love every once in a while. I grew a couple inches. I still had my good work ethics that I had, and again, watching your grandmother and I would at night. She was accountant by day. At night, she would clean, and some days during the week, I'd help her stock coolers in a convenience store, and then we'd vacuum and clean office buildings at night. I would take my homework and do it just because I wanted to be with Mom so she was safe. And but anyway, Coach Graham was a great disciplinarian, and I grew a little bit. We ended up winning, and he said, listen, you've proven everything you can here at junior college. You need to go on. Well, I got looked at by the New York Mets. And if I'd have signed with them at that time, I'd have been on the same staff as Dwight Gooden. Doc and I kind of came up in different leagues. So I ended up going to the University of Texas.
Well, you went, you San Jac, and then
went from San Jac to University of Texas, where I played under the third man that was the winningest coach in baseball history, Coach Cliff Gustafson. And Coach Gus was the same way. Never really raised his voice, but he was to the point. He was the one that always said, here at Texas, we win. And we don't rebuild, we reload. And I joined a lot of fantastic players, a lot of high-level players, blue chippers are what they kind of called them back then. And then you just jump right through that season. We were great. My sophomore year, lost to Miami, I think. And I thought our life was over as we knew it, and we thought we'd never get a chance to go back to Omaha. Came right back the next year with a stronger pitching staff. Had Calvin Schiraldi. Calvin was fantastic. Mike Capel, and we had a closer named Kirk Killingsworth. He was outstanding. So we ended up going and getting to the College World Series. I beat Alabama for the final game to win the national title. It's something that I stay with. I wear that national championship, my national championship ring, more than my World Series rings, because the University of Texas was a huge stepping stone for me to change the dynamic of my family's life and what you know now to the life that you've led over 30 years. So
so you win the national championship '83.
Yep.
And you get drafted, I think, 19th overall by the Red Sox.
Right. The Astros and the Rangers had early picks, and they were following me pretty closely, so I thought it might be one of those two. The only other tip that I got was the Los Angeles Dodgers, the LA Dodgers, right behind the Red Sox. They said if I'm still there and available, they were going to take me. I had no idea about the Boston Red Sox.
Do you remember any guys who was Spike 1-1 that year, or was it the year before?
Year before. He was 1982 draft. And Spike, to this day, I still think Spike Owen. Spiker, I still think was, I don't know why his number's not retired at Texas. I think he was one of the greatest college and professional players that came through the University of Texas.
For sure.
And he was, he did everything, and he did it all. He did it well. And so he got drafted, and we left. I was pretty devastated, thinking that we're never going to win again. But yeah, once I got drafted, they were messing with me during. I didn't like the college draft back then because it was in the middle of the Omaha series, and so a few of us got drafted in round 1 and round 2. Got on the bus. We were pretty ecstatic, obviously, but there's some other guys that thought they were going to get drafted, and they didn't. So they were the bus was a little somber, and so.
That's where really the game starts to change, right? Yeah. From being a college athlete, and obviously I experienced college and professional levels as well, not nearly like you did, but the game does change a little bit once it becomes your job, right?
Yeah, it's a profession, so you find out the business part of the game extremely fast, which I did too. But like I said, winning it in Omaha was a huge stepping stone. I get drafted by the Boston Red Sox. I'm like, I had some guys calling my room. We didn't have cell phones then in 1983. Right. So guys were calling my room, messing with me. Say, yeah, Mr. Clemens, this is so-and-so from the Seattle, And I'm like, we had a crazy catcher from California. He was funny,
That's
but
funny.
crazy. But anyway, I get
Do you
drafted.
remember any guys that were drafted before you in that 1983 draft that either
I
were
just
great or didn't? I wonder who was the
Yeah.
first overall pick in '83. Do you
Well,
remember?
that I don't know, and I do. I think I was the first one taken, and I think Calvin Schiraldi and then Mike Capel got drafted a little bit later, second round, third round, somewhere in there maybe. Calvin might have been an in-between first-round pick. They had a supplementary pick or something like that. But the guys got drafted. I think we ended up having 8 or 9 guys drafted off that team,
Yeah, that's pretty
which
good.
was really good. And you know, Grandma wrote me a nice poem about Fenway Park. I wasn't really familiar with Boston or Fenway.
Yeah.
And she wrote me a nice poem about there. And then I started learning the history about it, which plays throughout my entire career and why I love history so much. Not only that I played 24 years and I got to make a lot of history, but, I was a JFK buff and loved everything, all very
sure.
interested in JFK and didn't know that I was going to have the career that I had and meet Ronald Reagan, strike out 20 guys and give, President Reagan,
Yeah.
go to the Oval Office.
Big
give him
Elvis
this
guy too.
Huh?
He loved
I'm a
Elvis.
big Elvis guy too. Yeah, that's
So-
we can go on and on, but
Yeah,
let me
but-
just jump through my rookie year, and then my second year I go 9-4 and get like Red Sox Rookie of the Year, but then the very next year I'm cooking pretty good in 1985, and in August my shoulder starts bothering me. And I can't really figure out what's going on because for 3 or 4 innings, I'm throwing 95 miles an hour and dealing. And then after that, it felt like somebody was hitting me with an ice pick in the back of my shoulder.
Right.
And basically what I ended up finding out, learning about my shoulders, your rotator cuff, there was some cartilage in that area. And it would swell up and get caught as I would throw. And that was the pain I was having. Nobody could really figure it out in Boston. It got to the point where I was lucky I was in the American League case because I couldn't re-warm up. It killed me to re-warm up. So after the first inning or the second inning or third inning, I'd go up to the locker room, get the bat boy, and we'd play catch in the locker room. So I could continue my motion so it didn't hurt to re-warm up when I went out for the game. Well, we fell out of contention and they said, we're going to shut you down. And this was, I think, early August. The Hendricks brothers, I had 2 wonderful agents, Randy and Alan Hendricks. They said, hey, nobody's really figuring out what's going on. We have found and heard about this doctor in Columbus, Georgia, and he's a specialist in shoulders, elbows, and knees. So what's his name? He said, a guy named Dr. James Andrews.
Yeah.
In Columbus, Georgia. And you talking about heaven sent to have my paths crossed with Dr. Andrews.
Yeah, but at the time, Doc was doing well, but not.
Oh no, he wasn't very well known at all. I think I was his first major. I mean, if you ask Doc, I'm pretty sure he'll tell you I was his first, major guy. And it was like trains, planes, and automobiles to get down there to him in Columbus, Georgia. And your mother went with me, and your grandmother. And when we got down there, Doc had like 2 assistants. He had a little bitty small practice, building, not very big at all. And he put me on the table. He said, "You mind if I bring in my interns while I'm doing this and giving you a checkup?" And I go, "Not at all." And I kept telling him there's something way down in there in the back. That's where it's been bothering me. But, I was throwing hard and nobody could figure it out. And he goes, your pain tolerance is probably off the charts. You probably had no idea. And anyway, he put me on the table and he took my arm and wrenched it a couple places and it caught. And I about came off the table in tears. And he goes, "Yep." He goes, "I can fix you tomorrow if you want." I said, "What?" He goes, "No, I can fix you tomorrow if you want." And I'm looking at my mom and your mother.
And this is 80.
This is 1985.
85, and
now, if I had this injury 2 years earlier, they'd have had to cut my shoulder open. I'd probably been done.
Right, but back then surgeries were pretty like. If you had surgery, you're done. Like nowadays, obviously with modern medicine and everything getting up to speed, people are going through Tommy John and
absolutely
different shoulder surgeries and ACL surgeries and coming back
absolutely
the next couple of years. But in 85,
they just barely came up with the orthoscopic procedure.
Yeah, but you're thinking in your mind, I don't know about this. If I get surgery, who knows?
Well,
I might be done.
Let me regress again. My last start was, I think, in Anaheim, California, and I couldn't get through the 4th inning, and I knew it was getting worse. And I walked outside the locker room. Underneath, they got the the cold hard concrete floors outside the locker rooms on your way to the players' bus or the parking lot. And I sat out there on the floor for an hour, tears in my eyes. My pitching coach came out to visit with me, and I said, I just don't know what I'm going to do. Of course, your career is flashing in front of your eyes.
Right.
And so, fast back forward, Dr. Andrews, I called the Hendricks brothers, and I said, he located the same issue, says he can fix me tomorrow. He seems pretty confident about this. And I don't think I'm going to go back to Boston. I think I'm just going to get it done. And the Hendricks brothers, like, everybody's going to freak out. And, being a number one pick, everybody's going to freak out. And next morning, I remember him rolling me into the operating room. He had a little TV outside, in the little black and white TV hanging where your grandmother, my mom, and your mom, Deb and Grandma were there, and they were looking at the TV while he was taping himself doing my scope. That's how confident he was. And he was talking, and he got in there.
Yeah, he's walking Mom and Grandma.
He's walking
through.
them right through the whole surgery. I'm out. I remember him wheeling me down there, and I'm thinking my pain tolerance was so high that he didn't give me enough medicine to put me to sleep. And I'm like, Doc, make sure you take care of me now, because hopefully I got a career in front of me, too. And by the way, I don't think you gave me enough.
Out.
And next thing I remember, him tapping me on the face, and I was done. I was his first patient to do
Pitcher's 10.
The Pitcher's 10 Pro. We developed that program later, but I was doing shoulder work, and cuff work, 2 pounds with him the very next day. And but it was interesting because he showed on the TV while he was doing the story, he lifted it up and said, if he'd have kept pitching, this is his rotator cuff. It's a little red, little pink. He probably would have tore his cuff, and then he would have been done.
Yeah.
So he went in there with that little Pac-Man and took the, out of there. And Doc always said that I did the surgery, but you did the work to come back.
Yeah, to get.
And he was right. When I got cleared to start throwing, as we lead up to this 20 strikeout into the 1986 season, I got cleared to throw. I think it was in December. And I'm playing catch out in Katy, Texas. There were no homes right. We're in 100 degrees. I got your mom out there playing catch with me, 20 feet. And Doc called it. Doc said, when I release you to throw, there's going to be days when you're going to think that I didn't fix you. And he was dead on. I was playing catch, and it was hurt. I was like, he didn't fix me. This thing's not right. And then 2 days later, I felt I could start game 1 of the World Series. And he said, but don't throw hard. And when you get to spring training in February, I don't want you to throw a ball over 90 miles an hour. And I got knocked around so bad in spring training, I was packing up bases. I said, I'm going to get released. That's how bad I was.
He was throwing pies in there.
Yeah, and backing up bases. Well, the season starts, and I turn it loose.
Okay, so hold on, right? Let's recap this. So go to Texas. Spike Owens, the team leader in 82. You get to the national championship. You get beat by Miami. Fast forward to the next year, you don't think you're going to make it. You guys get all the way back. You, Mike, Calvin, you beat Alabama in the championship game to win the national championship for Texas in 83. You get drafted, 19th pick overall, 83 draft, and you go to Boston. You spend some time in Pawtucket, a few minor league games.
I think I pitched 12
games.
games.
And you debuted when? In 85?
May 15th.
May 15th, Cody's birthday.
1984.
1984. So you had a cup of coffee in the minor leagues, and then you were flying private the rest of your career. But
I don't know if I was flying private. But
anyways,
yeah.
So
Sounds
to
good.
get to this, one of my favorite stories, which is this 20 strikeout story, because it's so funny because the Capel family is one of our favorite families. We've grown up with their boys. And so now you have surgery, you come back, and it's 86, and you're wondering, am I going to have a good year? I got to get going. And then all of a sudden,
felt good in 1986 spring training, but again, I was trying to stay under speed, instead of whistling in there 95, 97 miles an hour. I was trying to stay right around 90, work on my breaking ball, work on my chain, different things, but I was getting knocked around pretty good. And
so do you remember Mike was how's the story start?
I'll tell you about that. Let me back up again because something just came to mind which was funny. In 1984, after I got drafted, they brought me up before I went home after the minor league season. We won the AA championship, by the way. So I went from a national championship, worked my way through A-ball. I only had about 12 starts maybe in the minors. But at AA, where I think I had 6 or 7, including playoffs, we got in the playoffs and we won the Eastern League Championship. So now I've got 2 championships pretty close. So I said, this is the way it's going to be. We're going to win. Wherever we go, we're going to win. And I was going to go home. It was a long time, because we had the full college season, the World Series. I'm playing in A-ball, winning AA, and I'm ready to go home. They say, no, we want you to come up and see Fenway Park. So I remember my first trip. I get to the airport. And again, no cell phones. I get to the Logan Airport. I land. I get in a cab. I got a newspaper, so I'm not paying attention. I tell the cabbie, I go, I'm going to Fenway Park. And the guy didn't say anything. He just starts driving. 20 minutes later, whatever it was, pull up kind of on the side of Fenway Park, which now I know the outside of it's all brick building and stuff like that. But he parks and he goes, all right, here you go, kid. And I look out the window. I had my face in a newspaper or something. So I wasn't paying attention to the drive. And I look out and I see nothing but red. And I keep looking up and I can't really see anything. Fenway's got this red brick around it on the outside. Looks like a warehouse. And I tell the cabbie, I said, cabbie, I'm a professional player. I got drafted I'm dropping it all on him, who I am. I said, I'm a professional player. I got drafted by the Red Sox, and I'm going to Fenway Park. It's a baseball stadium. He goes, with other words, this is effing it, kid. Get your ass out of my car, out of my cab.
He's like, we're here.
So, yeah, we're here. So I get out, and then I walk a little bit, and some of the team officials meet me. And the first way they bring me is underneath the stadium, and on one of the ramps on the first base side, Red Sox dugout side, and I see the giant green monster in the green grass. I was like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. And so now fast forward to 84 spring training. Here we go. My first big league camp. I get invited to big league camp. Now I've got some older coaches. My manager's Ralph Houck, one of the great managers that managed the Yankees. And I mean, he's seen some great players come through his door.
Yeah.
And I have a wonderful spring. I mean, I think the only runs I gave up probably my 5th or 6th start. It was a solo homer. But I pitched great. I outpitched everybody. I'm making the team. I'm so excited. I'm a rookie. And I'm in the locker room with Dwight Evans and Jim Rice and Wade Boggs. And I think Dennis Eckerly was in there, and Bruce Hurst and Marty Barrett. And the list goes on. And then we had coaches. Ted Williams and Yaz is there. So it's a little who's who in this locker room of guys.
Yeah. I mean, Red Sox legends.
Yeah, Red Sox. I mean, you're talking about an old-timers game. So now it's cut day, and it's April Fool's. And I already know waking up, I'm ready for it. It's April Fool's Day, and I'm ready. I'm ready for all the jokes, all the stuff, anything that's going to happen to me as being
you're making it, so you're like,
I'm making the team. I got no problem, but I'll play along with who wants to mess with me. And sure enough, I saw guys going in and getting released and getting sent to AAA, and the clubhouse guys say, hey, the manager wants to see you in the office, and I could hear him. And so I'm just kind of messing around.
Did somebody just come out, or did they leave? Like, there's some movies that have red cards in your locker.
No, they
stuff
come
like
out.
that.
They come out.
They come out and say, hey,
yeah, the club.
Roger,
they send
come.
the club. Yeah, okay, go get him. We're going to, and you go in there and you either get released or you're going to sent to AAA or whatever. So it's down to the last couple, and I think, I'm in. Nobody's even going to talk. As soon as I start thinking good thoughts, I get a tap on the shoulder. They want you in the manager's office. I go, oh, here we go. Because they're telling some of the guys, hey, congratulations, you made the team.
Yeah.
And so I go in there. The front office people are there, the GM, the pitching coach, our manager, Ralph Houck, got a cigar going. I mean, it's, I'm sitting there and I sit on the couch. I'm kind of smirking. I'm waiting.
You're grinning.
And they're all looking at me. And I'm like, I made the team, I'm thinking to myself. And I know it's April Fool's, but I made the team because I pitched well. And Ralph looks right at me and goes, well, kid, you've done everything we could ask you to do in spring. You had a wonderful spring, no doubt about it. You pitched your ass off. He goes, but we're going to have to send you to AAA Pawtucket. And I just sat there because I'm waiting for the punchline. I'm thinking, wait, April Fools, you made the team. It never came. After 6 seconds of quiet, 6 seconds of silence is a long time. I'm like,
especially
right.
In the manager's office.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, go ahead and hit me with it. It never came. I got sent to AAA, so I was going to AAA devastated. And my agents called me, and then that's when I started learning about the business part of the game. They said, they're going to send you out. If you do well, stay healthy, and you do well, you'll be right back up. But they're going to basically buy you for another year so you can't go to arbitration.
Exactly.
And
Not
that's what
starting your
happened.
clock in the big leagues.
That's what happened. I went down to AAA. I pitched, I think, 2 games. I pitched pretty good, not great, but okay. And then my manager grabbed me and said, "You're going to the big leagues." And I told you it was May 15th.
Yeah.
My first start in Cleveland, and so that's how that went. So
That's a great story.
let's
too.
get all the way back to the 20 strikeout.
Yeah,
again.
no,
We had 3
this is
questions.
great. I mean,
So I'll tell you. So now, after Andrews fixed me, and I'm not throwing very hard in spring training, right? Getting knocked around. I come out of the gate, and I think I was 3-0. My first
in
3 starts. This is 1986.
6.
I start off 3-0, and the reason I stopped there because I think Game 4, we're in Fenway against the Seattle Mariners, and that's where not only my life changed, but your life changed, and your brother's life, everybody's in our family's lives changed. I think. First thing I did was I showed my teammates I was healthy after that surgery, and it was a little chilly. There's a giant backstory to this game.
Yeah.
Giant backstory.
That's the best part of this whole story. So, go back, talk about Spike, who was a great teammate of yours, talk about Mike and how you guys met up because he was playing minor league ball. And then also, don't forget to mention the fact that
I almost missed the game.
But it's the same game where the Celtics were playing a playoff game,
and
so there wasn't that many
going on.
people in the stadium, as well as the K-Man, right?
That's right.
So
April,
there's all that.
April 29th, 1986, the day before, you bring up the Capel family. My teammate at Texas, Mike Capel, he got drafted by the Cubs, so he was in Pittsfield, and they had a day off, and we decided all to play golf. So there's a bunch of his guys and a few of us, we all decided to play golf. We played 27 holes the day before. And
day before your start.
But the day before night.
Manager obviously didn't know this.
Yeah, well, you drive up next to your ball at the golf cart and hit it, you're not going to get tired, right?
Yeah.
So we finished golf. Gamer knows I'm pitching the next night against Seattle, has come in town, and Spike's there, our teammate. And Gamer's like, I call him, that's Mike's nickname is Gamer. And Gamer looks at me with child psychology and goes, "Hey, Clem, we're all going to be watching the game. You need to bust Spike inside and knock him down." Spike's a left-handed hitter, kind of stands on the plate, but he's, it's weird facing your
former
teammates.
Of
Stuff like that. It's just weird because you're out there. He wants to hit one off my kneecap. Spike wants to hit one off my kneecap so he can brag about it when we're golfing in the off season, and I want to punch him out, right? So Gamer's like, you need. I said, yeah, I'll do it.
Well, he's hitting leadoff for Seattle, so you're going to face him the next day.
And Mike is like, you won't do it. He's like child psychology. I said, dude, I'll bust him inside one time if you guys are going to be watching, just for fun. So now, go to April 29th, and it's the next morning, and I usually only eat once a day on the day I pitch. It's usually about 2:00. Well, I'll have a little something, where it'd be like a granola bar or something, or banana in the morning. And your mother and I decided that we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, and they had a giant pool, and they had tennis courts. So we decided we're going to go play tennis. So that morning, from 9 to 10 o'clock, we play about an hour worth of tennis, just hitting the ball back and forth, messing around. Then we go get a bite to eat, and I'm in boots and jeans and a golf shirt, and then it's showtime, and we only have the one car, so she has to drive in no matter what, whenever I'm doing, so she can take the car and get around town, whatever she's going to do.
Yeah, she's dropping
with the other wives, whatever she's going to drop me off. So now, and I like to get to the game. The game started at 7:35 back then, so I like to get to the game maybe around 6. So I got about an hour and a half. I'm not.
You don't want to be there too long where you're there all day.
Some of my fellow pitcher mates, they like to go early. Some of these guys are going at 2:00 and just sit there and sweat and play cards and solitaire by themselves or whatever they do. There's no way I could get to the park that I'd be bored to tears and all the energy, excitement.
You like to just get there and get going on your routine.
I like to get there, grab my uni, go back to the trainer's room, start my cuff work. Here we go. Do everything. I don't really like running in front of the fans, so if we had a treadmill or something like that, I would do that too. But so we're headed in to get there about 6 o'clock at the earliest 6:15 to be fine. Well, we get to Storrow Drive. We lived in Natick, and we'd come in Storrow Drive. Well, the first thing we noticed is a lot of traffic, 3 lanes, it's packed. And I'm like, wow, somebody had a wreck. Well, no, they had a concert going on at the Commons. They had that going on. And then I'm sitting in traffic, and I moved about 2 car lengths in 15 minutes, and it's probably at least a mile. I can see the Sitco sign, which is a sign behind the Green Monster that's been there, legendary. And I know I'm about a mile away, and I'm like, I'm not panicking yet, but you know, I got.
What time is it at this point?
Boots and jeans. Now it's probably it's getting close to 6:30. I'm about an hour out.
So you're an hour till game time.
Yeah, and then I realized I see a bunch of people in the other cars next to me in Celtics gear, and I said, oh my gosh, it's the Celtics are in the playoffs, and they have a game also. So now with that traffic and everything, we're not moving. We go a little bit further, maybe another 20 yards, and I look at your mother and I go, you're going to have to slide over and drive. I pop the trunk. I know I got running shoes in the trunk because I had boots and jeans on and a golf shirt. I said, I'm not going to make it. I got to run.
So what time is it at this point?
It's probably, you know, it's 6:30, 6:40. Yeah, so I'm within an hour of this game, the first pitch.
And so the manager's like,
no, they're, yeah, and I'm young. I'm in my, you know, first full year.
Fish,
second
right?
year. No, John McNamara was our manager.
Gotcha.
Bill Fisher's my pitching coach. And Fish is legendary. You know, he had Tom Seaver in Cincinnati, and you know he's had some great ones.
But it's 45 minutes, 50 minutes till game time. He's wondering where his starter's at.
I'm pretty sure they're wondering where the heck I'm at.
Yeah.
And so Mom slides over. I pop the trunk, and I got a blue Tornado with cloth seats in it, and it was badass back then. And so don't make fun of it. It was nice wheels back then. But I get to the back, Mom pops the trunk, and I'm yanking my boots off, throwing them in there, and people are kind of looking. I got some shades on and my ball cap, and now I get down. I'm starting to put my running shoes on, and I hear woo 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 woo, and I turn around. It's a motorcycle police officer pulled in behind me, thinking that our cars broke down or something, and we got to get to the side so this traffic can get. And I turn around. He's like, holy. He goes, Rocket, you know, he didn't say Rocket because I didn't have my nickname. He said, Roger, you know, he goes, I think he said, and I go, yeah. And he goes, and like he knew I was supposed to be pitching that night.
You're pitching, what are you doing here?
So we kind of exchanged half sentences back and forth 2 or 3 times. And I said, I'm getting ready to run. He goes, follow me. And he just split the C. People were kind of honking. They didn't know what I was doing. You know, I got my flashers on now. Get to the parking lot. Put it in park. Mom's sitting there, right there. I sprint into the locker room and I open the door, and it's like everybody's staring. My whole team's staring.
What time is it at this point? You walk in the door at what? 7 o'clock.
It's 7:10, 7:15.
You got 15 minutes till you're on the bump.
As soon as I get there, Fish goes, "Come with me in the manager's office." And so I go in there, and McNamara's like, "We're scratching. We got a long man down there warming up." I go, "There's no way. You're scratching me. I'm not answering to this. I'm good. Let me just go put my ear. I'm going. There's no." And you
didn't want to face the Boston media and have to tell them.
And I said, I'm not taking this for an answer. So I went and just threw my stuff on, rolled my arms a few times. The first time I think Fish and I ever ran down the stairs to the dugout, and then he had to jog with me to the outfield, which I don't know the last time Fish has ever jogged that far. You know, it's pretty good distance from the dugout. So I get down there, start warming up, and I'm bouncing balls. I'm not even throwing strikes. I got the worst temple headache. I mean, at one point I remember bending over trying to retie my cleats, and I thought my temple was going to pop out.
Well, you got to be just rattled at this point.
No, I'm sweating.
You threw like what, rattled. 1 or 2 pitches, and all of a sudden they're already singing.
Yeah. So no, I the only peace and quiet I got was when they did the anthem. So I got 2 minutes, and like, you know, so now I'm chunking again. I think I heard Fish. I could hear him. He was talking so loud on the bullpen.
They have the
phone.
long reliever already warming
still
up
there.
next to you?
He was already half warm, so he sat
you're
down.
normally in the bullpen by yourself, getting yourself dialed
catchers
in.
throwing long
toss.
toss.
I'm not saying no one else is throwing next to you.
Yeah, no.
But he's already over there knowing he's coming in.
He probably already was half loose, but he sat down when he saw me come out. And normally I play long toss in front of the dugout because it's so small and confined. Yeah. And anyway, Fish is on the phone saying, just leave the long man out here. He ain't getting out of the first inning. He ain't throwing a strike yet. And so I get done warming up. I ain't throwing a strike yet. Go to the dugout, switch shirts, whatever I had to do real quick. Boom, run to the mound. I go to the mound. I throw my warm-up pitches. I'm still in a fog. I was just in traffic 30 minutes ago. I wasn't making the game. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And
I could not imagine.
now, as I'm trying to get anywhere focused, I hear our PA announcement, leading off for the Seattle Mariners, #1, Spike Owen. I'm like, oh God, Gamer and all of them are watching in Pittsfield, and I got to knock Spike down. I got to throw one in on him. So I said, all right, here we go. So I wind up and I half throw one about 90 miles an hour, kind of in, and it's kind of close to Spike, but you can see Spike go like that and then tap the plate and kind of look at me, you know.
Yeah.
And
He's a little
and he has
red
no
ass.
idea what happened, that I almost missed this game. And so I said, okay, that's my knockdown pitch. So Gamer, you hope he's happy. Get the ball back. And now here we go. I'm going to let one go. Here we go. I got to get going. And I wind up and I turn it loose, and it is right at his ear flap. And I don't know how it missed him, but the next day in the paper, all you see is this picture of Spike and the bat and his
Helmet
eyes
flying.
flying.
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
I have no idea it missed him. But it missed him, and he spun around in the dirt and got back up and yelled at me, "What the hell?" You know, he was, and I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh man!" I said, "This is gonna be a disaster for a game. I'm not gonna be out here." But I won't even, waste the time on the rest of it. But
You got to
I
about
have
3-2
no idea.
count with him, battle back, and
I have
punch
no
him
idea.
out.
We punched him out, I think, to start the game off with. But I had no idea about a strikeout record. I had no idea the Red Sox had one. I had no idea about a major league strikeout that Seaver, Ryan, and Carlton had 19. Didn't think anything about it until now. It was pretty chilly, and there might have been 15,000 people.
Well, yeah, everybody's at the Celtics game.
Everybody's at the Celtics playoff game.
But you remember that, you were telling me before that the fans just started loading into the stadium as time went on because,
they were listening. They were listening.
You were in the six with maybe 15
I think somewhere at the
Ks or
stadium they
something.
were playing on the game in-house at the basketball game, and they said it was the most tickets sold during a game.
That's pretty cool.
And people started coming over.
Well, I think one of the funniest parts is the K-Man.
K-guy.
Because he spent his
they
career.
did a special. They did a little special. I think he sat down and did something that he was at his aunt's house. And I don't know, after 4 or 5 innings, I got 12, 13, 14 punch outs. And Bob Montgomery, one of our announcers, said, boy, that K guy's going to sure be mad at himself for not being at this one.
Yeah.
And then like the 5th inning, the kid heard it at the aunt's house or something. And he got in his car and busted it over there. And like I roll out for the 6th inning, boom, 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 boom. He had printed
got
up
all the Ks out.
Yeah, about 12, 15, 14, whatever it was, that many Ks. So he ended up being there.
That's awesome.
And then when I got to Bill, I think it was Bill Mambo Kett, had like 16 or 17. Said it was a Red Sox record. So that's the first I heard of that. And then once I got to 18, before I went out for the 9th inning, I was up in the locker room changing undershirts. Which I usually change my T-shirt under my jersey, 2 or 3 times. So your numbers on your jersey get heavier if you're sweating in them. Even though it was chilly, I was still sweating. And I look up and Hursty's there and a few of the other pitchers, and they're kind of watching me change. And I'm like, "What's up?" And they go, "We don't think you know, but if you get the last inning, if you get 2 punch outs, you get 1." You tie a major league record. You get 2, you're the record holder. And we just didn't want to jinx you or mess you up, but we thought we should tell you because you don't know. And I had no clue. But anyway, I go out there and I think I got the first 2 guys to set, to tie it and set it. And
so you had a chance for 21.
And then they hit a ground ball to short, and it was over.
Good grief.
And like I told you, Case, and your brothers know, and that my life changed from that night. I remember in the locker room, everybody had gone home. Bruce Hurst was still there. Hursty was there, and Bill Fisher, the pitching coach. And it was the 3 of us. And Hursty's on his way out. That's what he basically said. He goes, 2 things. He goes, and earlier, as I was icing when the game was over, Hursty told somebody, a reporter gave me a nickname, the Rocket. And they called me the Rocket, and then the rest is history on that. That stuck. I answer to that name more than I answer to my name when the kids say it. And then...
but Fish called you Smokey, huh?
Yeah, Fish called me Smokey for Smokey Joe Wood, and he was a great pitcher. It was one of my prized possessions here. I got like 3 of them, but that's one of them. I have a canceled check of Joe Wood. And but he called me Smokey. But Hursty said 2 things. He goes, our lives changed as a unit here with this team tonight. And I don't think you understand it, but your life just changed. And he said, Hershey said, pitching was a second-class citizen in this town till you got here. And so Hershey was one of the best. I mean, it was fun to have him and watch him pitch too. And then Hershey left, and then Fish goes, Smokey, a couple things. He goes, I love that you were throwing, 95, 98 miles an hour, and that you struck out 20. He goes, but I'm most proud. I said, I don't, Fish. He goes, you didn't walk anybody.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And come to find out, I had no clue what he's talking about, but I learned after the fact that Bill still holds. I talked to, when Fish passed away a few years ago, I talked in his funeral in Council Bluffs. And to this day, Fish holds the record, Major League Baseball record. I think it's 91 consecutive innings without walking a guy.
Yeah.
And so, not to jump forward, but to fast forward to my because we're on the topic, the second 20 strikeout game 10 years later in Detroit, Fish wasn't my pitching coach, but I tied my own record. I go in the locker room in Detroit, the clubhouse phone, they said, you got a phone call. And I get on the phone, and it's Fish. Smokey. I go, don't even say anything, Fish. I said, I did it again. He goes, yeah, you struck out 20, but you know what else? I go, I didn't walk anybody. He goes,
awesome.
That's why I'm calling you.
That's really cool.
And so, everything changed there. I started off the year 14-0. I showed my teammates that I was healthy, and we had a wonderful year.
That's awesome. I mean, it's so cool. Obviously, everybody knows about that game, and especially Boston fans, but the background of how all the shenanigans that went on leading up to the game is crazy. And so many people talk about, if you hit good in BP, are you going to have a good game? Or if you throw good in the bullpen, are you going to have a good game? To be honest, there's a lot of good 5 o'clock hitters, a lot of guys that can throw good bullpens, but you could do it.
I've had some horrible bullpens and just told the catcher on the way out, especially when I got in my 40s. I pitched till I was 45, as you know, son. But there were days when I was 40 to 45 and my bullpens and my arm was, when I say underwater, it was horrible. And I just stopped. After about 30 pitches, I didn't force it. I said, I just got to get to the main mound, hope for the bright lights and the crowd gets into it and I get going. And those are the games that are most gratifying. I tell people I won 200 games because of great stuff. Electric fastball, nice slider, devastating split, whatever. But the other 160, whatever it was, and I got out of second, third with one out, and we end up winning 4-3.
Yeah, just grinding.
And you're just gas going home, driving home.
Right.
So the same thing coming out of it, I tell pitchers now when they come out of the pen, you're never going to feel like you felt in high school. So you're going to have to kind of do things on the go sometimes when you get out to the main mound. So,
back to the 20 strikeout game or games, since you did it twice, there's only been 5 people that have accomplished the feat, right? It's you twice, Kerry Wood, Randy Johnson did it, I believe, in 11 innings, and then Max Scherzer did it. But people ask me all the time, what's your favorite stat, or because obviously you played 24 years. There's so many different crazy stats, 7 Cy Youngs, both 20 strikeout games. What people don't know that I love is all of those other 20 strikeout games were in the National League. You're the only one that's done it, and done it twice in the American League when there was a DH. So you had to face and strike out 20 legit hitters, with the DH being one of the best hitters in the lineup. Yeah. The David Ortizes, the Edgar Martinez, those kind of guys, versus the other 3 times that the guys punch out 20, they got to strike the pitcher out 4 times.
Yeah.
So you basically get to start the game out with 4 and get 16 guys. You had to punch out 20 hitters.
Yeah, the American League, you have a guy.
That's insane.
American League, I tell people, when I was with the Yankees, we got Soriano leading off. He's got 30 bombs, 100 RBIs.
Yeah.
So go out there and lay a little 92, 93 mile an hour fastball down the middle to get strike one. You're not getting it back.
For sure.
He's going to hit it a long way the other way.
So I think that story's awesome. I love that story.
That's a great one. But that that changed the dynamics of,
Yeah, that changed everything. I think that's an awesome first episode, just kind of going through your childhood and your upbringing and kind of what brought you to go to San Jac, go to Texas, meeting some teammates there and sparking your career with not only a national championship, but getting drafted in the first round by Boston, and then, a little bit worried about
Yeah.
your career with your shoulder and everything, having, Dr. James Andrews kind of kick off y'all kicked off your career together. That's why y'all's relationship is as good as it is now. And then obviously the first 20 punch out game, just sending you off on a rocket, no pun intended. But I think that's an awesome way to start off our series, and I hope you enjoyed some of the stories, as I know I did. I love listening to them all the time. I've heard them a million times, but we appreciate you guys watching. And
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think, like I said, it's a great way to jumpstart this case. So I appreciate it. But you kind of take me back when I'm telling you the story. I can visualize some of it, and but it's a story of early in my career perseverance, and I think it's important for the fans and the viewers to understand. It wasn't not that I didn't have a God-given talent. I think He made my mindset a God-given talent to not give up, and it wasn't a bunch of bed of roses,
yeah,
through high school,
not all
college, all
sunshine and
that. I
daisies,
mean,
for sure.
we
I
had
think
some big
that's
speed bumps.
a good part about what we're going to be going through with these stories is showing the backstories and showing how, not everything is what it looks like when they show you the highlights on TV. They
Oh,
probably
yeah.
thought you showed up to that game ready to go,
Yeah.
and you had your stuff, right? But anyways, we'll end it with that. Thank you guys for watching. We'd appreciate any comments, questions, anything you guys want to hear or see. And if you want to help us out with the name of this show, let us know what you think. So appreciate you guys watching.